The Lost Beatles Surround Sound podcast. The Lost Beatles. It's hard to say. Are they Lost Beatles tapes? You'd say, well, no, we don't get any tape here. But on the other hand, where did they come from? They came from tapes, right? Originally, these, still are, well, that's questionable too. But these were on magnetic tape. But then George Martin decided that it's just too risky leaving them laying around in magnetic tape form. They can, be destroyed easily, especially fire. Fire is boy, that's what keeps people like him awake at night. So they have been transferred in whole to digital disc. So every last second of tape in the Beatles archive of the Beatles in the studio is backed up with a perfect lossless digital recording or copy of that, which is not saved at Abbey Road. It's saved somewhere secret, and I don't know where it is. So we're safe that way. No horrible person can do to the recordings of the Beatles what unfortunately happened to Dusty Springfield. For all us Dusty Springfield lovers who just love her music. And unfortunately, there was a fire in New Jersey, and it completely destroyed most of her early albums. So that's horrible, and that's happened. A quick story though. It's it wasn't the end of the world with Dusty. For the first 10 or 15 years of CDs and for Super Audio Compact Disc, we looked like crazy to find a copy of, Dusty in Memphis or one of her other great albums, and, they were gone. The fire just ate up all the masters. And then an engineer who worked there remembered that he had been given a copy of the 8-track master to take home to work on and to remix it for a better stereo presentation, or even possibly a super audio presentation. Well, he never did it. The super audio didn't catch on the way they hoped it would. Just didn't happen. Okay, it didn't happen. And unbelievably, he just forgot about it, and then one day, maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago, which would be 2013, he was getting really old, preparing to be planted, and he remembered that. And so other experts came in and took the tapes with them, and it turns out he had a wonderful copy, not the original masters, of Dusty in Memphis, and he had the 8-track masters, which is really the second best thing he could have had. If he'd have had the 8-track masters original, that would have been good. But the 8-track masters had been copied into 8 tracks, and he had that, which did allow it to be remixed. You could do things like raise the volume of the drums and lower the guitar, or vice versa, and bring that piano up, and maybe just change the tone of the piano because it didn't sound right, but leave the other instruments. And whatever you wanted to do to balance out the mix of the sound, you could do with his tapes. And since then, we've had on Rhino Records, we've had some wonderful releases of Dusty's in Memphis with very, very good sound, and even a Super Audio Compact Disc. And it sounds great. And so at least there was some good news there, because people like me had been very unhappy. I went all through England looking for copies of Dusty Springfield's music that I could just scoop up before they all disappeared. This was 25 years ago. So anyway, so let's get back here to Hard Day's Night. My source tells me that the first week of February, I will be getting I believe it's a 5.1, but I have the promo sheet right here. So let's just take a quick look and see what we got. I will be getting the Beatles Blu-ray. Now remember, this is a Blu-ray, so that's the latest possible sonic format. Well, I guess Blu-ray is really a visual format. And I'm going to be getting the latest Blu-ray 5.1 of A Hard Day's Night. Now, those people that have heard it, here's one of the reviews. The beauty of the Beatles' harmonies and the genius of George Martin's production. I'm glad it's not the other way around, because that really, I don't want to hear George Martin's harmonies. Really shine through in surround sound. This is high resolution audio only. It is not a movie. You will need a Blu-ray player to play this. It will not play on a DVD or in a CD player. Okay? So that disc is a Blu-ray disc. That's what we know so far. What can we find out about it? Well, it is 5.1 surround sound. Now that's something. Because most people would think that Hard Day's Night was recorded either in 3-track or 4-track sound. How do you make a 5-track surround sound recording from 3 channels? I talked about this briefly because they did it on a couple of songs on With the Beatles, unbelievably. And that's where George Martin, not wanting to keep the rest of the band in the studio, would have George, I can't play a guitar solo, have him stay late after everybody's gone, and over and over give him a chance. All right, George, we're going to take it again from second. Ready? Here we go. Second bar, you're going to take it. Follow the band, George. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. We're going to start right on the middle, George. So, okay? Then you'll jump in, do your solo. Oh, that's what they did. And George Martin cruelly kept each and every take of George's attempted solo for that particular song. Well, that gives you one more channel, doesn't it? It gives you silence for most of the album, but then when it comes time for the guitar solo, now you've got one more channel where George pops in and does this terrible guitar playing and pops back out. So that's one way you can get 5.1 channels. Another one is on Not a Second Time. You've got that great piano, that great sounding piano, really. And you've got, for the rest of their careers, you've really got George Martin, who, as producers did in those days, it was very common practice, played piano on whatever track they had that needed a piano, and even uncredited. He didn't even get his name on it. But that was considered part of being a producer. That was your job. So on Hard Day's Night, let's say the solo in the middle of Hard Day's Night, that's George, guitar, and George Martin playing piano. So those are on 2 different tracks. They obviously they didn't try to play them together, because George Martin probably nailed it on the first or second attempt, and George Harrison probably nailed it on the 21st or 22nd attempt. And those are on separate tracks, and that will fill them out and give them maybe 5 tracks. Remember, the point 1 is the subwoofer, so that's not created by the original recording engineers. That's created by the people in Abbey Road who now have possession of the tapes and listen and want to make a separate separate recording for just the bass, so that they can have a nice large speaker putting out the bass. Okay, so the Hard Day's Night is 5.1. Now that is some really, really good news. Really good news. The sound on it, unbelievably, will be, oh my God. For the surround sound is 96 24-bit. That is There's just no question. That is lossless, and that's a perfect copy. So that will give you exactly what was mixed in the studio. It has the ability to sound just like anything else any other recording did. So in other words, whatever it sounded like in the studio back in 1965 is what it should sound like on this disc. I don't know. It ain't here. So let's take a look and see what it is that this promo sheet says I'm going to be getting in the way of the music. All right, music. What do we get for the music? All right, well, let's see. Well, we're going to get the song first, Hard Day's Night. Okay, we know that. That's a great one. We're all happy to hear that, right? Imagine the song Hard Day's Night in 5.1 on its way here. Next song is going to be I Should Have Known Better with a Girl Like You. So that's coming. All right. I'm sure you're as happy about that as I am. Now I'm trying to read this very small writing. So let's take a look here. What do we got? Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. That of course is I'm getting these from the back. There's a picture of the back of the album, and the funny thing is that it's a beautiful picture. I don't think I've seen it before of the Beatles. It's similar to other ones where they're running through the ruins of London, but looks like they're having a great time. All right. So I Should Have Known Better. The next song is one of my very, very favorites. It's If I Fell, and of course it tells me it's from the movies A Hard Day's Night. And because this thing has been remixed, they have taken out the Bad Note by McCartney. That's great. Which is when he sings the word pain. It just, ouch, he misses that note by a mile. So that has been edited out. There was also a dropout. The sound disappears for a second in all the older versions. That's been fixed here. There's no dropout. So I really like that song. So let's get into the fourth one. Is the one that Paul and John gave to George because it's just a crappy song. So George gets to sing the song, I'm happy just to dance with you, Really bad song, but they give it to him, and he does a fairly decent job. They do a real good job in the background, Paul and John do. 5 is And I Love Her from the film Hard Day's Night. There's lots of guitar, acoustic guitar, like a wooden guitar with strings on it, spread around the room on that one. So you're going to hear all sorts of acoustic, wooden, not electrified guitars coming out of the right rear and the left rear. All that kind of stuff. 6, Tell Me Why, which is one of my favorite songs. I think that song rocks out. Good drumming by Ringo. Who else? Can't. So that's Tell Me Why from Hard Day's Night. And number 7, last song from A Hard Day's Night, is Can't Buy Me Love from the film A Hard Day's Night. And that's another good song that's going to be coming out and attributed to Paul or whatever, but actually that's a Lennon-McCartney song. And let's get to the next one. Anytime at All. Now remember, this was not in Hard Day's Night, but the people in England got it as a bonus. That brings up the story again of my cousin, who unbelievably, when this album came out, it was not quite out here in the U.S., but it was out in England. Remember, in the U.S., when it came out, we just got the songs that you had just heard, ending with Can't Buy Me Love, and the rest of the album was filled with shit. Instrumental shit that nobody ever listened to. So we're having some sort of party at my house. My cousin comes up from Gardena. She was unfortunately, a Beatles lover, not like me. I liked their music, but I didn't like them. But she was more than that, being a